Today we are talking food and buffs in Once Human. Do you want to jump up 3 walls high into your enemy's base? Or be like the Predator and turn invisible to snipe your enemies for 50% more weak spot damage? Well, what about passively healing while running a silo with no corruption? Or even a whole extra ring of stamina? Maybe you want a huge weight increase and chances for extra resources when farming? Well, today I'm going to teach you guys the basics of foods and buffs and Whim and Deviant buffs in Once Human, because you can stack all of these that I've mentioned at the same time. So first we'll go over the basics of cooking and farming memetics and specializations, the deviants you will need, and then the daily foods that I use, and finally I'll cover the daily Whim buffs I use and the deviants for those as well. So at the end I'll give you guys a full overview of my loadout and how it works. This video will cover the basics of consumables and more advanced tips too, but first up let's cover cooking farm memetics. If you want to skip ahead, chapters are in. So first thing to know about food buffs is where they are unlocked. So if you go into your cradle in memetics, you'll find them under logistics, and here's dishes, and this is where the cooking is found. Now you want to actually go all the way down to dishes 4, and this is the good stuff here. So this is where you unlock the cooking tier for the food. Next up, you're going to want the farming memetics, so you can get the food to cook. For gardening, you're going to want to go down here in logistics as well. Learn all your water contraptions, your water pumps, and automated irrigation. And you're going to want this osmosis water filter. And then you're also going to want to learn the basics of planting over here. Planting, compost bins, planter box, fertilizers, and grow lights. So you're going to want to make sure to get these memetics. These are a vital part of getting your food buffs going. Next up, we want to talk about memetic specializations for food and cooking, and these are really important, so pay attention because you only get a couple of chances at these. So I've actually got one of the best memetics, in my opinion, is the Stardust Dish Shell Break. And so with this memetic specialization, I get improved formula. So Stardust Dish provides 2 special Whim effects within 30 minutes of use and continuously recovers HP when sanity is full. So with this, I get extra bonuses from the foods that I make. So pretty amazing. And then on top of this, I've also got another memetic specialization called Canned Goods Mini Canner. And so with this one, I get extra +1 yield when crafting canned goods, so I get twice as much when I craft my food and drinks. You don't need these memetic specializations, but it's good to be aware of them. So make sure you learn cooking and you learn gardening, and then set up your passive farm early with the help of the deviants I'm going to mention, which will work in conjunction to get the most from your cooking and production from your garden. So you've unlocked the basics. Now we're going to make our garden. I'll quickly show you guys how the gardening basics work. I'm going to do a speed round through it, so pay attention, and I'll show you guys also how to set up your kitchen. Very basic in that regards. But let's go over how to set up your garden real quick before we cover the deviants that you guys will need. Once you've unlocked gardening, we're going to place down some gardening facilities. We're going to place down some planter boxes. You can do this inside or outside. I like to do it inside, keep them protected, out of the way. And then what you're also going to need for the planter boxes is the function facilities, a grow light, and an automatic irrigation facility. And so this automatic irrigation will keep your plants watered, and this grow light will keep them with light inside. So when you put these down, you're going to have to connect the irrigation to purified water, and that's why we've got the osmosis machine over here. And so basically, to get your water, you want to get some rain catchers on your roof. This is the easiest way to do it. Get some rain catchers, place a heap down, run a pipe into a water tank, and the water tank into your osmosis water purifier, and then run that into another barrel and then into your automated irrigation facility. So if we show the cabling here, you guys will see that my pipe is running from over here. And so that's the way the system works. You'll get dirty water from the rain, and you need to purify it so that it will work with your garden. Really important to know. I've got a video on setting this up as well. I'll link it in the description for you guys. I won't go into that much of a micro detail. So that's our irrigation. And then you've got your grow lights, and you want to put these about 2 walls up. Mine aren't ideally placed because then the lights spread further. Once you've placed down your grow lights and your crop plots, you need to actually go over to your irrigation system and adjust the number depending on what crops you're planting. So I've put my irrigation at 80 because the beets that I've planted here actually need 80 for irrigation and 80 for lighting. So then you go and adjust the lighting as well. So my lighting's set to 80 and my irrigation set to 80. So it's really important that you guys know this, because I was going to skip this part, but it was really painful to learn the basics of gardening. So that's a quick rundown. So obviously, once you've learned your memetics, put your garden down. And for your kitchen, it's pretty straightforward. Place down your kitchen. I did want to mention there's a kitchen set buff as well that I got from Fats that I haven't unlocked. So it gives you further buffs too. So there is another extra memetic there. Place down your kitchen, attach it to power, and that's where you're going to cook your stuff. And also, you're going to want to put down a brewing barrel for the other components for the Stardust. And you can run your pure water to that as well. And that's going to give us our beer and brewing. So is separate. So make sure you learn brewing barrel too. And so that's how your garden's going to work. That's the quick basic rundown. And now we're going to cover the deviants you guys will need to run this and to run your kitchen. The reason you want to place down a few kitchens, by the way, is because when you queue foods, if they've got an expiry timer and you leave them on the kitchen, they're going to keep their timer fresh. And so don't make big stacks because the expiry timer is really bad and it applies to the whole stack. Just a side note. But I want to cover all of it in the video. So if you guys do want to skip ahead, by the way, skip ahead and I'll have timestamps in the video for the parts that you guys might need if you guys already know the basics. But this is covering everything. So I'm leaving it all in. So let's cover the deviants now. So now you've learned cooking and you've learned your gardening. You also want to get the deviants ready. This is the next part in getting ready for your food buffs, getting the right deviants that you'll need to get the most out of it. Because if you start doing food buffs without these deviants, you'll be on a severe back foot. So the first guy is a must-have, Growshroom, and he is found by just picking up mushrooms. So if you pick up mushrooms, you've got a chance to pick him up, and he's going to keep your garden maintained. He's going to replant your seeds, and he's going to pick up and put down more seeds and get all the resources from your garden so it becomes automated. You're also going to want to get the Lethal Rabbit. Now, Lethal Rabbit is a hunter, so he's going to get you meats and he's going to get you hide, but the meat is what we need for our cooking. So he's going to get you passive meat so you don't have to do it yourself. And we're also going to get this guy down here, which is Chephosaurus Rex. And what he does is he increases your cooking proficiency. The higher the deviant energy level, the greater the proficiency increase. So he's giving us more buffs again on our foods when we're cooking them. Make sure you've got those deviants before you start going down the route of doing too much in food buffs, because you're going to really want to get the mushrooms and the Growshrooms to automate your farm so you can just have it running in the background early on. So I recommend doing that really fast. So now we've got our kitchens unlocked, we've got our garden unlocked, we've got our deviants. Let's look at the recipes we want. So the first drink we want is the Stardust Energy Drink. And what this does is it gives you the ability to double jump for 30 minutes. And this is huge. This is why I can basically fly around, and you'll see lots of people flying and jumping around. And because I've got the memetic that we mentioned before for Stardust Dish Shellbreak, it means we also get heals from this. So we get continuously recover HP when sanity is full. And obviously I get 2 of these per craft. So this is great. I'm going to go over the resources you need for this in one moment. But first I'm going to go over my daily drinks. So that's my daily drink. Next up for food. Next up, I'm eating the canned lunch meat for my meat. And so if I was to put in here rabbit meat, I get max stamina plus 40 from the rabbit meat. And if I was to eat some deer meat, I get plus 25 stamina. And these lunch meats can stack. And what this means is, if you see on my hotbar there, if I use my food, you can actually see all your buffs here, by the way. If I eat my stamina food here in my hotbar, it's going to give me the max stamina plus 25. And so what we're going to do is we're going to see that another ring appears on our arm on the left side there. So this means we're getting extra stamina, and you can get an extra basically 3/4 full of stamina if you stack these buffs, because you can stack the rabbit one. I think I made that with the rabbit. Let's double check real quick. So with deer meat, you're getting, it's deer, so deer's 25, and if you harvest rabbits, you actually get plus 40 stamina, and you can stack these two together. So you can eat 2 canned lunch meats for an extra 65 stamina. So that's huge. That's the food I eat and the drink that I have on a daily. And then if I'm running dungeons, I'm also making the malt ale or the corn ale, and what this does is keeps your sanity down. So this is used to prevent sanity drop for 30 minutes. So when you're running silos, your sanity is not going to increase, and combined with the energy drink, it means you get passive heals the whole time. So you can use either of these from corn or from wheat for the beer. So that's my other drink that I have. And then the other food that I'm having is my specialty DPS buff food. The other food I'm having has weakening hex. So this one hits enemies and grants vulnerability for 5 seconds on the target enemy for 10 seconds. So I can stack this with the stamina foods as well. If I press this, you guys will see that over here where we've got the plus, it's going to switch the extra bonus from this one, which was the HP. It's going to switch that to my shellfish, but it's going to keep the stamina over here. So I'm basically stacking buffs on buffs. So now I've got that boost, and I'm getting the stamina from this, and so now I've got output increase, stamina increase, jumping and heals increase, and no pollution and no corruption. And so shellfish meat is great, and again, it's one of those foods that's really easy to make, and I'll show you guys how to make that. It's just sugar and shellfish. So like the energy drink, really easy ingredients. I'm going to show you where to get these ingredients in the next step, obviously, but we're going over the foods now. So that is the foods that I use. We're also going to cover our Whim effects from our deviants as well in the next part. So obviously now you guys want to know where to get these foods, and be aware if you guys have a different build. For instance, you can make this one here. If you guys are running shrapnel builds, you can use salt and aluminium and the meat, and then you're going to get a bonus to your shrapnel. So used to increase shrapnel damage by 20%. So depending on what build you've got, make sure you use the right food for it. A lot of these foods don't require the deviant things, don't require deviant effects, so that's great. This is the basics again, and we're not covering Buzzy Bee because it's not on PvP on a side note. And there's another bonus one for you guys actually, is the canned seafood and oil, and this one actually gives you farming increase. So this is another one I use when I'm farming. You can make this with morel, corn oil, and fish. So easily sourced ingredients that aren't up to RNG. So with this one, you can actually get a chance to get extra procs when you're farming, and there's a huge one here, 666% chance for yield bonus for the final strike. So you get a huge amount of resources, so make sure you run this too. And again, you can stack these, so you can use stamina with the canned meat if you want the rabbit. So the shrapnel build gets really lucky here because they have a really good food. Like the weak spot food is a bit harder to make, for instance, because it requires the deviated beets and coconuts. So for my weak spot, this is my ideal food that I would use, but I need to get coconuts going, and I've got a couple deviated beets now, but this increases damage by 25%. But for this video, again, we're ignoring the deviated foods and focusing on foods that we can get an abundance of. All right, so now we have our kitchen, we have our garden, we've got our recipes, and we are ready to go and farm the resources for them. I'll show you guys where to get them. So, and what I've got, I'll show you guys what I've got in my garden. For the energy drinks, we're going to actually need saffron. We're going to need saffron, purified water, sugar, and aluminium. With the beets, we can turn those into sugar. They're really invaluable. One of the spawn towns actually has a really quick run for beets. If you go to Myers Market, this is where you want to go for your beet needs early on. And you can actually harvest beets here and harvest seeds. and you can transfer from world to world and harvest them fresh on each server. So this is a really great way if you want to get started and get your buffs going really fast. Make sure you guys actually come to Maya's Market. There's so many harvestables here. So I like to run down to the shore here. You can also get some corn, which is actually really nice for what we're doing. So there's beets here on the beach. These ones seem to respawn faster than the other beets. There's even some cabbage. If you guys are making anything with cabbage, check these farms, because generally there's like one in all of the spawn towns, and they're great if you're trying to get your farms going and you don't know where stuff spawns. Come to these areas and generally you'll find at least a decent amount of what you're after. This spot over here is actually the better spot for the beets. In this garden here is an actual beet garden, and here you'll generally find like 4 to 5 beets if someone else hasn't beat you to it. So once you've got all your beets, you can make your sugar and the saffron. The saffron is actually the red plants that you guys will find all around the map. And so this is the other component you will need to make your energy drinks. And so now we've got our sugar and we've got our saffron. We can now make some energy drinks. I'm not actually going to make that many because I've got a lot of these saved up already. We'll grab that. And obviously it kills some rabbits to make your lunch meat on the way. And I'm going to get some shellfish meat for my other buff food. And shellfish meat is really easy to get, and again it's using sugar, so you need the beets. But the shellfish meat is just found on the beaches, and so if I go down to the beach near my base here, we're going to find some shellfish meat. And again, it's just one of those resources that are everywhere, and so that's what makes these foods the best, in my opinion, for starting out. We're going over the basics, obviously. Foods that you're going to have access to more readily earlier on, that you can run all the time and not have to rely on deviations. So you go to these shell rocks, and this is where you get your shellfish meat. And so as you can see, there's just shellfish meat for days, and so you can live off this really damn easy. Special mention is the canned seafood, which I actually surprisingly don't have any morel. I must have run out of it. I was growing morel. But this actually gives you a chance to get more resources when you're farming. So this is another food buff that you don't need an extra deviation for, so it's pretty accessible to get the canned seafood in oil, and for that you just need a fish. So because we picked up some corn earlier and we might have some wheat, we can put that in our barrel to passively make the beer as well. So don't forget to keep your beer brewing and your corn ale as well. Both those do the same thing. And also don't forget to put the seeds manually in your grow rooms to start with. So you designate at your grow room which seeds you want them to plant and maintain, and then they'll keep the cycle going until they run out of seeds. So once you do harvest some foods and resources, put the seeds in your grow rooms. Do not forget that part. So that is the end of the section on food buffs. Now let's talk about deviant buffs, because they are very different as well. Now let's cover Whim potions. Luckily they're a lot more straightforward and easy. So all you need for the Whim potions and buffs is the right deviant to produce the potions. So for instance, we've got Masonic Pyramid. He's going to be one of the ones we're going to need here. I'm going to go over the buffs in a moment. He produces Predator and Parapsychology. So once we've got Masonic Pyramid, which you can find by searching on Map Genie. I'm not going to show you guys the exact locations of these ones. This video is gone for a lot longer than it should have. We've also got the Frog the Leaper. He's going to give us our spring legs, and he's just passively producing that. And so we can just get these resources made really easily. The Deviants Whim potions are a lot easier to make. And then we've also got my new favorite guy, which is Pup Buddy, and you can get him from actually killing the boss that has the balloons on him, and he gives us the featherweight. And again, I'll go over what these potions do, but the deviant buffs and Whim potions are great because they have a separate stack to the food buffs, and so you can use all of these plus the food buffs. And we're going to go over these deviant buffs real quick right now. For the deviant Whim potions, what we're using is the following down here. I'm missing one. I'm missing my Pup Buddy weight reduction, so let's get that. So I'm going to claim the resource from him, and then I'm going to go into my crafting, and on my table I'm going to have this pop up. So featherweight with the small balloons, some acid and some glass. I can make some featherweights for spring legs, again acid and glass. And for Predator, we can make those. And living armor, we can make those. And so very easy to make all these Whim potions. And let's go over what the Whim potions do. So, Predator's pretty straightforward. Once we pop this, we actually can turn invisible every 10 seconds. If we crouch and sit still for 3 seconds, and it gives us 50% weak spot increase to damage. Next up, we've got the living armor, and this one's great because when your HP drops below 20%, you recover 100% HP in 5 seconds. It's got a 10-minute cooldown timer though, do be aware of that, but it's great for running silos. Then we've got obviously spring legs, and he's going to give us the plus 3.5 meters jump at a stamina cost, but remember we've got our energy drink which gives us double jump, so 2 3.5 meter jumps, and we've got our stamina foods which gives us extra stamina to make up for the spring legs. And then finally obviously featherweight gives us the max load, and so we've got 180 there. Also don't forget I do have backpack expansion though, so do be aware of that. So that is the Deviant Whim potion buffs that you guys will want. There's some others that I haven't covered, like the parapsychology is great. It gives you awareness of where other players are if they're looking at you. We've got space twister to teleport your friends. You've also got the hand, which can repair the lowest gear in your inventory. Lots of other things, but today we're covering the basics again, so I'm not going to go into all of those. Just give you guys a broad overview of what I've been using and what's replicatable on a daily basis. So now let's put it all together. Once you've got all your Whim potions, we're going to start with our Predator. Pop your Predator for the crouch and the stealth and 50% more weak spot. Pop your living armor for the extra heals when you're low. Pop your spring legs for your extra jump, and pop your featherweight. To check your Whims, you can hover over here and press left click. So these are our Whim details and our buffs. We also get the Destroyer buff, which means damage to deviants increased by 30%. And increase to 30% from monsters too, and sanity drops by 20 upon a kill, so be aware your sanity will go down with this one, which is why if you're running a silo you're going to be using the beer obviously to stop the sanity going down from this. Now that's our Whim details. Obviously with our food buffs, we are going to go across here. We're going to pop our stamina plus 25 from the deer. We're going to pop our stamina plus 40 from the rabbit, so you guys can see I've got extra 75 stamina. It's huge, nearly a whole another ring around. And then we're going to pop our shellfish meat. We're going to pop our shellfish meat, which is going to change this heal effect that we got from some of these to the attack effect from the icon there. So now we've got the attack from that, the stamina from the other foods. Then we're going to pop our drink, and you can see there we've got our running man, which means we've got our extra jump and our passive heals. You can see the passive heals here called shell break effect. Again, that's from the advanced memetic. Be aware of that. You may not see that side of it, but you can see here we've stacked all our foods. If I'm farming, I'm going to put some canned seafood on. It's going to take away my attack thing and replace that with the hammer. So that's how the food buffs work and how you can stack them. Basically, you won't see the visual icon or a written icon of what effect this is, but you know what it is from the food you've eaten. But you can show your buffs here, and it'll show you the shell break at least, and you can see it over here, but it won't actually show you like you've got the double jump visually with written indicator. And again, you can see all the Whim effects too. So stack all of those, have a great time with it. It's going to make your life so much easier if you do this early. I hope I covered all the bases in this video. Again, it's a long video, lots of information, but I wanted to cover the broad basics so that if you're new to the game, you can replicate this. And again, don't forget Buzzy B. It currently isn't on PvP, so that one does give us deviated foods. But anyway, I wanted to cover the basics of foods. So to start with, you're not going to be worrying about the deviated foods. We're going to keep it simple, keep it straightforward. That's what I'm running. Don't forget, if you've got a different build, use a different specialty food for your attack bonus. And again, don't forget to use your malt ale when you're running the silos or bosses, but this will also take away the effect from the energy drink. So do be aware, when you pop your beer, you get the clear-minded effect instead of the jump effect, but you still get the heals from the drink. So it's like a bit of a secret code to combine all these to get the best min-max of your build. So if you guys did find this video helpful, please smash a like on it. It took me a long time to put all this together. Smash a like on it, share it with your friends if you guys found this helpful. I tried to cover all bases and keep it simple, and also give you guys all the information you needed. Guys, you guys are legends, and I'll see you guys in the next one.